My wife said, "You're just a paycheck to me." I acted normal. Then I pulled the plug on all her cards. 3 days later, she called me screaming. I, 38 male, am or was a happily married man. Or so I thought. Been with Stephanie, 35, for 7 years, married for 5. I'm the main breadwinner. She works part-time at an upscale boutique, mostly for kicks. Her pay is fun money. Our lifestyle is comfortable, thanks to my demanding but rewarding project management job. So, Tuesday evening. I got home, knackered from a long day. We were casually talking about the future, maybe upgrading the kitchen or a trip next year. Stephanie starts going on about this ridiculously expensive Italian range she saw in a magazine, then pivots to wanting a 2-week tour of the Greek Isles, first class all the way. I tried to gently pump the brakes, mentioned things in my industry were looking a bit uncertain for the next 6 months, and maybe we should be a tad more conservative with big spends. Just for a bit. She didn't look up from her phone, just waved a hand dismissively. Why are you always such a buzzkill about money? It's not like I can't have what I want. Then she looked at me, a little smirk. You're just a paycheck to me anyway, Ryan. Just make sure it keeps coming. Silence. My brain just short-circuited. It wasn't loud, it wasn't angry, but it was the loudest thing I'd ever heard her say. Years of quiet sacrifices, late nights at work, skipped guys' weekends to make sure she had whatever she wanted, all boiled down to that. A paycheck. I didn't yell, didn't argue, I just nodded. Okay, Stephanie. And I walked out of the room. Something in me just snapped, calmly. I went to my study, opened my laptop. She has a whole wallet full of cards where I'm the primary account holder. An Amex Platinum for travel and big stuff, a Visa signature for everyday, a couple of department store cards, the usual culprits, Bloomingdale's, Saks. It took about an hour. I reported her Amex and Visa cards as lost, stolen, so they'd be deactivated immediately and new ones sent to me. For the store cards, I logged into each account and simply removed her as an authorized user. Done. My own debit card, my personal emergency visa, all fine. Secure. It's now Friday morning. Almost 72 hours later. She hasn't said a word, hasn't noticed a thing. Business as usual. She's off this afternoon for a major retail therapy session with her bestie Laura. Supposedly they're hitting some high-end furniture showrooms. My phone is on my desk, on silent. But I'm waiting. The explosion is imminent, I figure. Part of me feels sick, part strangely liberated. We'll see. Update? Well, it happened. As predicted. Quick recap for anyone new. Wife, Stephanie, told me, 38M, I was just a paycheck to her. I didn't react outwardly, but later that night I canceled all the credit cards she uses that are tied to my accounts. Friday, around 2:30 p.m., I was deep in a spreadsheet at work when my phone, on silent, started vibrating like it was having a seizure. It was Stephanie. I let it go to voicemail. It immediately started ringing again and again. On the 4th try, I picked up, put it on speaker, leaned back. Ryan, what on earth did you do? Pure rage. I could practically hear steam from her ears. My cards are all declined. Every single one. I'm at Artisan Interiors trying to buy that gorgeous chaise lounge she saw, and I look like a complete idiot. Laura is just staring at me like I'm some kind of peasant. I took a breath. Oh, really? Which cards specifically, Stephanie? Trying to sound mildly concerned like I'd forgotten to pay a bill. All of them, you fool, she shrieked. The Amex, the Visa, even my Saks card. What is wrong with you? Are you broke? Did your company finally figure out you're useless? You're embarrassing me. There it was, her embarrassment. No, Stephanie, I didn't forget to pay anything, I said, keeping my voice level. And no, I'm not broke. I canceled them. Or rather, I removed you as an authorized user from my accounts. Dead silence on the other end, for about 5 seconds. Then, a sputtering sound. You did what? Without asking me. How dare you? Those are my cards. I need them. How am I supposed to buy things? How am I supposed to live? The sheer entitlement. My cards. Well, I said, you did clarify my primary function in our marriage. You said I was just a paycheck. So, consider the associated benefits of said paycheck currently under review. You have your own bank account, Stephanie. The money from your boutique job. You can use that. I swear I heard a gasp. My boutique money? That's for my little treats, my lattes, my manicures, not for necessities or chaise lounges. This is financial abuse. You're controlling me. Turn them back on, Ryan, right now. No, Stephanie, I don't think I will, I said. We clearly need to have a serious discussion about our finances and our marriage. But not while you're screaming at me from a furniture store. I'll see you at home tonight. I hung up. She came home a few hours later. Walked in, slammed her purse, a $2 Prada I paid for last Christmas, on the hall table and glared at me. Didn't say a word, just seething. Apparently, Laura had to pay for their coffees after the Artisan Interiors debacle. The humiliation. The evening brought dramatic sighs, muttered comments about me being a vindictive sort, and her pointedly eating cereal for dinner because she couldn't afford real food. Our fridge is full. It's a weird feeling, this. Like, a weight has been lifted, but it's also heavy, you know? This is the woman I married. But those words, just a paycheck, they replay in my head. I told her we'd talk properly on Saturday. I'm not backing down. This isn't just about money anymore, it's about respect. Or the total lack of it. Update 2. Thanks for the comments on my last post. It helped to write it out and see I'm not crazy. Recap. Stephanie called me a paycheck. I canceled her access to my credit cards. She had a meltdown. We were due to talk. The talk happened Saturday morning, or rather her list of demands happened. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table. She finally graced me with her presence, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. Okay, Ryan, she began, no preamble. This little power trip of yours has gone on long enough. I expect you to call the credit card companies Monday morning and fix this mess. And frankly, I think I deserve a pretty substantial apology for the public humiliation you caused. I just looked at her. Stephanie, this isn't a power trip. It's a consequence. Your comment wasn't just some throwaway line. It made me reevaluate everything. I'm supposed to be your husband, your partner, not an ATM. She actually scoffed. Oh, don't be so melodramatic. It was a figure of speech. I was frustrated because you were being difficult about the kitchen. You know, I didn't actually mean it like that. You're just being overly sensitive, as usual. Gaslighting 101. My turn. It didn't sound like a slip of the tongue, Stephanie, I said, keeping my voice firm but calm. It sounded like something you've thought for a while, and it finally slipped out. For years, I've worked very hard, and it seems my entire worth in this marriage has been distilled down to the balance on my bank statement. This is where it got interesting, or more infuriating. Her dirty trick 1, weaponizing appearances and family. So what now? She said, her voice rising. You're just gonna cut me off? Leave me with nothing? Make me look like some kind of pathetic gold digger to everyone? My mother already called me. Laura apparently told her cousin, who's friends with Mom, about the incident at Artisan Interiors. Mom thinks you're being incredibly cruel and controlling. So the PR campaign against me had already begun. Nice. You have a job, Stephanie, I reminded her. You earn money, you're not destitute. You just don't have unlimited, unquestioned access to my income for your discretionary spending anymore. We can absolutely sit down and create a household budget. We can allocate funds for shared expenses, bills, groceries, things we both use. But your solo shopping extravaganzas on my credit cards are over. The word budget seemed to physically repel her. A budget? She sneered, like I'd suggested we forage for berries in the park. Like we're poor? I don't do budgets, Ryan. I never have. If I see something I want, and I can get it, I get it. That's how it's always been with us. The sheer entitlement, the disconnect from reality, like talking to an expensive, well-maintained wall. Her dirty trick 2, malicious compliance and playing the victim. The next few days were a masterclass in passive aggression. She was ostentatiously poor. She let her yoga studio membership lapse, paid from her boutique earnings usually. Can't afford it anymore, I guess. She'd sigh dramatically if I was in earshot. She forgot dry cleaning. No money, honey. When I asked what she wanted for dinner, oh, I don't know, Ryan. What can we peasants afford tonight? Maybe a single shared potato? Our joint grocery bill is usually handled by me anyway, but any little extras she used to pick up, her fancy imported dark chocolate, the expensive artisanal cheese, she made a show of not buying them. I also found out she'd tried to use an old emergency-only Visa card I'd forgotten was even in her wallet. It's linked to my account, but has like a $500 limit. It was declined, of course, as I'd put a freeze on it too after the initial cancellations. She didn't mention that attempt. Honestly, guys, some evenings I just sit in the driveway for 10 minutes after work. just to take a deep breath before walking in. It's heavy. A small part of me keeps waiting for her to crack, to genuinely apologize, to see what she said and how she's acting. But it's just more entitlement, more demands, more subtle and not so subtle digs. I did something else too. I called a lawyer, just an initial consultation, to understand my rights, my options. Haven't filed anything, haven't even told Stephanie. But the thought is there, sitting in the back of my mind like a cold stone. Is this salvageable? Right now, it really doesn't feel like it. Final update. Alright folks, this is likely my final update on this saga. It's been a journey. Quick recap for anyone just tuning in. My wife, Stephanie, casually informed me I was just a paycheck. I calmly canceled her access to my credit cards. She reacted with predictable fury and escalating entitlement. I consulted a lawyer. Things were tense, to say the least. Stephanie's campaign of entitlement continued, and even escalated into some truly baffling territory. Her parents, Jason and Deborah, got involved. Deborah, her mom, called me up, full of indignation. "Ryan, dear, I think you're taking this far too seriously. Stephanie is a sensitive girl. Marriage is about give and take, you know? You need to be more understanding of her needs." I calmly explained the paycheck comment, her subsequent behavior, her refusal to contribute financially to anything beyond her personal whims despite having her own income, and my willingness to establish a fair household budget. Deborah huffed that Stephanie wasn't raised to be a pauper and that I was damaging her spirit. Jason, her dad, mumbled something like, "Now Deborah, let's hear his side," but she talked right over him. He sounded embarrassed, mostly. The call ended with Deborah saying I needed to make things right, and soon. Stephanie tried getting her own credit cards. Unsurprisingly, with her minimal income, barely declared, and no real credit history, she'd always piggybacked on mine. The offers were insulting to her. We're talking low limits and high APRs. She actually cried about that, real tears. How am I supposed to maintain my lifestyle with a $1,000 limit? She was forced to use her boutique money for her gas, her daily $7 oat milk lattes, her takeout lunches with Laura. She complained endlessly. "I made $350 last week and it's all gone already. This is ridiculous. How do normal people even survive?" The lack of self-awareness was, and is, astounding. Then came dirty trick 3, the one that really sealed the deal for me. I got a fraud alert text from my mobile phone provider, then an email. Someone had tried to authorize changes to my account, including requesting a disconnection, claiming to be me. They failed because although she knew my old security answers, the call flagged for review. My provider mentioned the voice didn't match my biometric profile, and a sharp agent also noted inconsistencies in the request itself, then alerted me. I had a sinking feeling. I confronted her that evening, showed her the alert. She actually tried to laugh it off. "Oh my goodness, Ryan, it was just a silly prank. Can't you take a joke? I was just trying to get your attention. Trying to disconnect my phone." As a prank. My work depends on that phone. My sanity depends on it. That was it. The last straw. The point where any lingering hope that we could fix this just evaporated. The paycheck comment was bad enough. The entitlement was grating. But this was malicious. I moved into the guest room that night. The following Monday, I formally filed for divorce. The revenge, if you can call it that, was simply letting reality bite her, hard. Her lawyer, a real shark in a skirt, tried to argue for massive spousal support, citing the lifestyle to which she had become accustomed. My lawyer, a calm, methodical guy named Edward, presented the timeline. Her paycheck comment. I'd logged the date, time, and exact wording immediately after it happened. Her consistent refusal to seek more substantial employment or contribute meaningfully to household expenses from her existing income. Copies of her own social media posts bragging about shopping sprees, paid by me. And the cherry on top? The documented attempt to sabotage my phone service. The judge, a no-nonsense woman in her late 50s, was visibly unimpressed with Stephanie's claims and her lawyer's theatrics. The paycheck comment particularly resonated negatively. When Stephanie claimed she was emotionally distraught and didn't mean it, the judge just raised an eyebrow. The fallout for Stephanie was significant. Spousal support was awarded, but it was minimal and for a very limited duration. Basically a soft landing, not a lifetime pension. far, far less than she and her lawyer demanded. She had to sell her SUV. It was a lease, co-signed by me when times were good. I made it clear I wouldn't be making any further payments post-separation. She couldn't afford the payments or the insurance on her own. Last I saw, she was driving a much older, smaller hatchback. She had to move out of our house. It was technically mine before the marriage, but the equity accrued during our time together was a marital asset. She couldn't afford to buy out my share, nor manage the mortgage and upkeep. She's now renting a small apartment in a less desirable part of town. Her social circle took a hit. Friends like Laura, who were always happy to enjoy cocktails on my tab or attend parties I funded, kind of faded into the woodwork once Stephanie wasn't a source of freebies and lavish entertainment anymore. Turns out, their friendship was as transactional as her view of our marriage. The boutique job? Yeah. Once she actually needed the money, the pressure was on. The owner, who had indulged Stephanie the hobbyist, was less thrilled with Stephanie the grumpy, unreliable employee who suddenly needed more hours but only wanted the good shifts. She was eventually let go due to not being a team player and a negative attitude after being asked to do stockroom work. I heard through the grapevine she struggled for a bit to find anything else that suited her tastes and skills, or lack thereof, for anything serious. The last I heard from a mutual acquaintance, she was waitressing at a chain restaurant, complaining bitterly about rude customers and sore feet. I didn't do anything to actively ruin her. I just stopped the flow from the First National Bank of Ryan. She called me a paycheck, so the paycheck exercised its right to, well, stop paying for things that weren't its responsibility. The consequences are entirely of her own making. Her sense of entitlement was like a designer's shield. And once I stepped aside, the unvarnished reality of the world just smacked her in the face. There's no real ha-ha gotcha satisfaction in any of this. It's profoundly sad, actually. Sad that this is who she chose to be, or maybe who she was all along, and I was too blind or too busy to see it. The first few weeks after she officially moved out were incredibly quiet, eerily so. I won't pretend there weren't moments of loneliness, of missing the idea of the woman I married. But then I'd remember, "You're just a paycheck to me," or the attempt to cut off my phone, and the resolve would harden again. I did the right thing. For my finances, yes, but more importantly, for my self-respect. I'm doing okay now. The divorce was finalized last month. The quiet in the house is now peaceful. I'm focusing on work, which picked up. I've reconnected with old friends and started cycling again. Dating is the furthest thing from my mind, but for the first time in a long time, I feel calm. My bank account is definitely healthier, but so is my mental state. It's a strange, bittersweet kind of victory. Oh, and I bought myself that fancy Italian espresso machine last week. The one Stephanie always said was an utterly pointless extravagance. Whenever I'd suggested it, usually right before she dropped $600 on a new handbag, I make myself a perfect cappuccino every morning. It's a small thing, but it's mine. And it's not just a transaction. So, yeah. That's my story. If you ever find out you're just a paycheck to someone, maybe it's time to stop payment. You're worth more than that. We all are.